Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our Java programming tutorial series. I'm sorry I've missed a couple days of uploads, but I just moved into my new apartment. So, today we are going to be doing more controls, and that's because we're continuing on with where we left off. We're going to be finishing up the text box, and then I suppose if there's enough time, we'll squeeze in how to add the functionality to them. So the first thing we're going to do is we said we're going to learn how to do gradients, and in order to do so, we're just going to grab a chunk of the gradient here, make sure we're recording at a decent level. Seems pretty good to me. We're going to grab a chunk of the gradient and just move it over so we can grab the two colors. We don't have to grab every color in between, just the two end pieces here. So we have this one here. We'll add these into our humble abode of colors. Call it gradient top equals new color pasta and get rid of the RGB. The next thing is the gradient bottom equals new color, and go grab that now. Bottom color, as you can see, if you look at the color codes over there, they are changing slightly. It's not much, but there is a difference, and you will be able to tell when you actually launch the application. So we have our two colors here. Now how this works is we know that this is drawing the border. Draw border. And we also know that we need to fill it in with a gradient. So fill gradient. G.set paint color. And we'll say this called set leg. We'll wait for it to catch up with us. Set paint new gradient. Nope, linear. I believe it's new linear gradient. Yep. The way it works is we're using points, so what we do is we set a new point. Actually, we don't even need to set a new point for that one. We can just do this. Get location. And then what we do for this guy is we'll set it to gradient top to set the top gradient. Now the bottom one we do need to do a new point, so we'll say new point get x get y plus get height, and import the points. And here we set gradient bottom. Gradient semicolon, close it all up. Point color is not defined. Are you serious? Just cut here real quick. All of it. Cut. Point, floats. That's not the structure I'm used to. Maybe it's this one. Import gradient paint. That's what I'm used to. Gradient paint, not linear gradient. So we'll just have to get rid of the old imports. No big deal. If we launch this, it will fill it in according to nothing. It'll absolutely do nothing because we need to actually set the fill now. So fill rectangle. Now that it has that, we go X, Y, W, H. Save. Look at it. There's our beautiful gradient. And if you look at the original design of our controls, there is a minor thing we need to do, and that is add the white alpha border just inside. So we'll just go back to our button. We'll copy and paste it because we've already done this. Copy pasta. Fix the tabs for clean code. There's our text box. All beautiful. There's a beautiful text box. Excuse me. So we have our text box, we have our button, and there's definitely plenty of time because we are only at 4 minutes. We're going to start structuring out how to actually make these things do stuff. So for a text box, what we need to do is we need to have a string of data. So text string equals blank. It's always going to equal blank when it starts. Not a big deal. This guy here, private text. We're going to need text because string button text, because we need to be able to label the buttons. We'll set it to, by default we'll call it new button, so every time you create a button and don't set the text, it'll say new button. NBD says not used, because we need to go down here, g dot draw string. We're going to draw the string because it's already at the alphabet white. Button text x plus w divided by 2. And here's a funky thing we're going to have to do. We're going to have to get the width of it, so we g dot get font metrics dot string width, the button text, divide that by 2. And then we'll set the y plus 12, so that's the font height, plus h divided by 2. That should work. Let's take a look at that. And we might need to actually do it by plus 6 because we don't want the full font height, we want half of it. That's pretty much centered. And then we will copy and paste this. We will change the color to black, color black, and we will draw it again, paste this in, but we're gonna plus 5 instead. That way there's a slight white drop shadow. There's a beautiful button there, finished. For the button, we're gonna need to set some private types, so public void set text string text this dot button text equals text, and we're gonna probably want to get it somehow, so we'll get text return this dot button text. And I'm really sorry if this is quiet, but I do have to keep myself quiet down in this apartment because it is 10 o'clock at night. My roommate is gone to work and I've got nothing to do, so record. So we got our basic button functionality. I'm just going to quickly move the microphone, so hopefully I can get a better audio out of it. We'll just quickly adjust the volume gains here. Might increase the noise a bit, but I'll clean that afterwards. There we go. We're talking nice and vibrant. Alrighty. We've got our basic controls over here. When we create our button here, btn, we will say btn hello world dot set text. Probably gonna have to cast it. Ooh, no. Cast. There we go. Set it to hello world. Save. Launch it up. Got hello world as our button text. Beautiful. Control will set a full of 1. Public boolean, so true or false, is clicked, and then we'll trigger it with a mouse event E. Now how this works, we're going to get the mouse position X equals E.get X, and the mouse position Y, so my equals E.get Y, and what we'll do is say if mx is greater than or equal to x, and mx is less than or equal to x plus w, and my is greater than or equal to y, and my is less than or equal to y plus h, then return true, else we're going to be returning false. Now what this does, let me just break it down really quick. We're going to check if the x is within our click area, so if it's within this distance, and if the y is within this, then we're going to return true, saying yes, it is clicked. Now what this is good for is because we have the button control all set up, we can not do anything yet, actually, because we need to implements mouse input listener. And And what this will do is it'll give us a bunch of things because it is an abstract. That is an abstract controller. And it'll give us all of these. So is clicked. Right here we'll say if btn hello world dot is clicked e. We pass the argument of e, which will be this guy right here. Then system.out.println hello world. So we launch this up, click on it, nothing. Why? Because we need to add the mouse listener to the canvas. These are minor things that I keep forgetting and I'm apologizing. Add mouse listener this. Save, run it, click. It's printing out hello world. If we click outside of it, it does nothing. We click the button, it spams hello world. So we have a functioning button. That was it. That was how easy it was. We're going to want to add the mouse listener. So mouse moved for control C in controls. C dot mouse moved E. And we'll change the argument to E again because it's an event and that's how we like to keep it. We'll add this in here. And we'll actually call this an abstract because each control's gonna have a different way of implementing this. Add the unimplemented method, and we will copy and paste our is clicked because all we want to know is if it's above it. And put an else statement. I'm not gonna return true because that would be bad. We need our ints, so int mx equals e dot get x, my equals e dot get y. Save that, and we're going to say is hovering equals true, is hovering equals false, and we'll set this at the top. This will be a private one, private boolean. Is hovering equals false by default. Now it's is hovering, and all we'll have to do is say if is hovering else. Do the same thing here. If is hovering else. Now these are the default colors, so we'll move them underneath, and we will have to go back to our states and get the colors of our hover states. So top one here, set up some more colors, background top hover equals new color, paste, and we'll get the bottom color. Background bottom hover new color, paste, get rid of these, save it, and we will use these in here. So g.setColor, color dot, oops, we have ours dedicated here, defined anyways, g.setColor, background bottom hover, and we save. And because it's going through all of them and doing this, fix this quick. Because it goes through all of this and does it, if we move above it. Oh snap, we gotta add a motion listener. Alrighty. Add mouse motion. Motion listener. This. Alrighty. Now we got motion, we can see we move our mouse above it, it hovers above, and it makes it brighter. So we now have a functioning button completely. It's clickable, it gets hover state. That's all we need for now. The next we're going to do is this text box. So I'll go back to the text box, and we got our string here, and we need to be able to pass through. We'll make this public abstract just to make it easier. Abstract void key pressed key event e. Import our key events, add a key listener here, add the unimplemented methods, and also straight to our canvas, add a key listener, this. Now that we have the key listener, we'll take this exact same thing here, key pressed, pass E, and change this to key pressed. Save. Now all the controls are going to have this, but really it only depends on whether or not you're going to be using it within that control. So this key pressed here, we're going to say if is active, then if key code equals E dot get key code, and if key code equals 8 backspace pressed, I'm gonna have to remove the end key, else that's that. If key code is not equal to, I believe it's this number, not 100% sure, we're gonna have to print that out real quick, and we'll say private boolean is active equals false by default. We need to make it active somehow, so we're gonna override the mouse clicked on. Oh, really? Public abstract? Nah. Public void. Mouse clicked. Mouse event E. Do nothing by default here, but we can also override it here. So override. Sorry about the puppy. It's roommates. Public void mouse clicked mouse event E, and there we have it. We now have a mouse click event, and we can literally just copy and paste the mouse over functionality here. So copy and paste, put this right here. Instead of saying is hovering, we'll say is active. Same thing here. And for the mouse clicked, we'll just do a loop again for control C in controls, do C dot mouse clicked, pass through E, done, not a big deal. Now I say is active, and else button, what is it called, text something, text string plus equals E dot get key character. And we'll just run it for now. We'll say it's active. We have no way of seeing that because we never drew it. Draw text string. Now here's something that's going to be interesting, because we need to detect if the text is big enough to fit in this box. For now, we're going to have it completely centered to this box, and it's going to stay centered. And what we want to do is, once the text, we'll show you here, text, test, right? It's going to stay centered, but once it gets to a certain point where it's cutting off on the end, we're going to want to align it to the left. So that way, if we keep typing, it'll do this. It'll push it over, and it'll actually erase off the end. So we're going to have to create a brand new graphics thing. Graphics 2D, G3 equals new, equals G2, or sorry, G dot create, and then we're going to have to X, Y, W, H. And what this will do is it'll create a clipping box. And the reason we need a clipping box is so that whatever's drawn within this area, it's going to be, boxed out. I guess the best way I could show you this is we're going to set a block that is 5,000 high. So g3.setColor, color.green, so something you're not going to miss. We're going to g3.fill rectangle 0, 0, 100, 5,000, just to show that it's actually clipped. See how it's filling that box completely? It's clipped. So if we set this to 50, you'll see it stays inside that box, but it's actually rendering 5,000 high, so it's going way beyond that box, but we're clipping it with this so that nothing can get outside of it. Oh, my nose is itchy. So once we have our clip, we'll say g3.set. We'll just draw the string for now. Draw string, text string, x, y, y plus 6 plus h divided by 2. Put these in parentheses so that it's done first. And the x plus w divided by 2 minus g dot get font metrics string width and divided by 2, and put these in parentheses as well. Now it'll draw the text. And I need to figure out if it's actually typing anything. So what we're going to do right here is going to say system.out.println. This will be our debug. e.get key character. So we'll see if it's actually printing anything. See, it's got our characters going, but it's not going to the text for some reason. So we're going to have to check out what's going on here. First of all, let's get the key code. I want to see what the special characters are. Cast it to an int so we can see it as an integer instead of everything else. That's the magical number I was looking for up here. So it's 35. And we'll cast this to a character because we'll probably get a better definition with that. Alright, now we gotta figure out why it's not drawing. Oh no. We're doing x's. We already have the x. It's already set to 0. And it renders it. So if we go and look at our render method, we'll look here, the x. We don't need this because we're creating it here, so we have that already. So we get rid of those. There's our text. And just to show it off a little better, we're going to do our black. g3.setColor, color.black, and we'll be able to see our text. And if it's backspace, which is 8, it's not going to do anything, and that's because we need to say text string equals text string dot substring 0 text string dot length minus 1. Now I'm going to explain this for you. What it's going to do is it's going to take this and set it to itself, but a substring is a count where this number here is where it starts. We want to start at 0, so let's use this as our example. This is 0. So now it's going to try to go all the way to the end, which is the length, and then it's going to minus 1. So this will be what the string is afterwards. So we save this, and we just spam our backspace, and it's going to crash because we need to check and say, and text string.length is greater than 1, because we need to make sure there's at least one character before trying to backspace. So, hello world. As you can see, it's forcing uppercase. This is because we did this badly. When grabbing characters, just grab the physical character. So now, if we erase this, we go hello world. It's not a problem. Oh no. Windows, why do you do this to me? So next thing we gotta figure out is why is it adding our special characters when we have a check here to not get it. Is that the wrong number? 65535. That's the correct number. Why is it adding it? Why are you adding controls and shifts? This is not right. Let's do the int cast. Int e.get key character. Maybe this will change the number for us. Oh, save. No. That's weird. That's one of the things you gotta figure out about this is you're constantly debugging and trying to fix things. No, the key code's not even doing it. Maybe we should just cast this to this. And say 65535, save. There we go. There we go. Hello, world. Perfect. We have a text box. Now what we said we were going to do is, if it goes beyond this point, right, we're going to render it differently. And to do that is we got to do an if statement. fg.getFontMetrics. String width. String width. Text string is greater than W, then render it not centered. Else, render it centered. So we'll just copy and paste this up top because we're going to need it. And we're going to render it differently. We're not going to go to the halfway point. Not going to go to the halfway point. See how that renders. And that seems to be funky, so W minus string length -5, so there's some padding. There we go. So once it gets to that point, it'll render like this, and then once we get to another point, it'll start centering it properly. So now if we just type this however we want, it can go overflowed and it won't look bad. It'll have that slight bit of padding so you can see where you're typing. And that is our text box. So we've got our functionality, we've got our rendering done, and I think that's episode 4.5. Now that we've got our controls done, I believe our next episode we're going to start creating the layout for our Spotify clone. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for dealing with my rambling today, and I really appreciate if it's bad audio quality, and say hello to Mr. Puppy once again. Thank you.